launch conductor in mission control. We pause at this moment in our countdown to remember and honor the lives of each of the participants on the Celestis Memorial Spaceflight. Their presence on this flight signifies a commitment to the opening of the space frontier shared by all of us. We wish the friends and families present today and all those who are with us in spirit all over the world Godspeed, good luck, and our thanks for allowing us to share this very personal time with you today. Elsie out. 5 vehicles armed. 3, 2, 1, fire. Missile away.
And good evening. Welcome to another Celestis Memorial Space Flights broadcast. This is another one of our many mission briefings for our upcoming Celestis flight. This is an important one, so stay tuned throughout the entire broadcast as you will be wanting to know all the current info we have on the future launch of your loved ones. Here to give you a lot of valuable information tonight, please welcome our CEO, Charles Chafer. Hey, Charles.
Hey, Mark, and thank you. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. So what a busy year we're going to have since, oh, by the way, I should have said Happy New Year to everyone, and I did not. My apologies. Happy New Year. 2023 is going to be incredible, and this is why the importance of this broadcast is for you and your family members, and Charles is the one that's going to brief that. So we have a busy evening tonight, so without any further delay, I'd like to go ahead and pass this over to Charles. Charlie?
Thanks, Mark. As I say, good to see you. I hope things are warm in Florida. It's snowy up here in the hills around Santa Fe, but it's beautiful. And in Houston,
I don't think
team is ready.
I'm sorry, I didn't think you wanted to hear about our weather here in Florida right now, okay?
Yeah. Well, thanks everybody for logging on, tuning in, and being part of tonight's live cast. First one of 2023, as Mark said, we're going to be busy, and we like to be busy. So it's exciting times for us, and I'm going to start out by just giving everybody an update on the Aurora Flight, the Enterprise Flight, the Tranquility Flight, and now the Excelsior Flight tonight. So without further ado, Mark, can you bring up the photo of our Enterprise Flight rocket?
Absolutely, Charlie.
So yesterday, the first ever Vulcan Centaur rocket arrived at Cape Canaveral, Florida, which means, as I said on a post I made earlier today, things are getting real. This is the vehicle that will fly both our Tranquility flights and our Enterprise flight. And I've described that in the past, but I'll describe it again in the future. Arriving, getting offloaded at Port Canaveral, and being taken to the ULA processing facility for preparation of launch. So what does that mean? When is the launch? So here's how it goes from here. All the hardware is now in Florida. It is being processed, and it is being prepared to do a number of on-pad tests. Don't you like that term? That means it's really getting real. So the launch pad in Florida is Launch Complex 41. And the goal for the next few weeks will be to fully load the pressurized tanks of the rockets, kind of what they call a wet dress. And then also to test fire in a lockdown mode the two main engines of the first stage of Vulcan. It's called a flight readiness firing. When will that occur? Sometime, well, let's say that ULA is now telling us that their expectation is they'll launch before the end of March. So back that up to where during February, these tests, all of which are critical, by the way, you have to pass all those tests before you can fly, will be happening. This is the first ever launch of Vulcan. There will be no small amount of attention paid to it. And as a result, I think it's best to assume that both Tranquility, as a passenger on the astrobotic Peregrine 1 lunar lander, and Enterprise, as a passenger on the Centaur upper stage, will be launching in that window before the end of March. So for those two missions, we fly at once. First time we've ever done that. The work is continuing at the technical level. Again, to remind, looking at a not later than the end of March launch, as well as the work that we do at Celestis. Pardon me, get a drink of water here. And the work that we do at Celestis is getting ready to host all y'all, as they say in Texas, for 3 days of, I think, appropriate and compelling activities built around the launch. That work that we're doing will culminate in an Enterprise event page and a Tranquility event page. And those we're looking to launch those, I believe, sometime next week. So for all of you Tranquility and Enterprise folks, your primary contact will get an email from us when those sites are live, but we'll also post on our social platforms and on our website information that leads you to those pages, which will be not only the way that you register with us, that you're coming to the launch, but it's also, those pages will be your main source of information as we add additional speakers, as we create other events around the launch. That's where you'll go. And again, I'll say it will be, because it's a double launch, it will be our largest launch and largest launch event ever. And but this will be our 18th hosting of folks, so we're pretty good at doing that. So it's a daunting task to be ready to do what we do, but we've been working on it for a long time and really looking forward to going back to the moon and going to deep space for the very first time. The deep space mission, the other interesting aspect of the deep space, the Enterprise mission, is we won't really know how it's going to get to its deep space location until the launch date is set and then the launch occurs, because the fact that Vulcan and Centaur go to the moon first and then go to deep space, the quarter of the moon when we launch dictates the trajectory that we take to deep space. One of them is out, goes past Mars. One of them is in to the sun, inwards toward the sun. We're not going into the sun, towards Venus. So it'll be a bit of a mystery. I'm trying to figure out how to do an office pool on who gets closest to when it's going to fly. I'm not yet succeeded, and that's mostly because math was never my strong subject. But it's obviously we're excited, we're thrilled, we're humbled, we're honored. We're going to have an amazing, amazing Celestis Memorial launch. Think about it, going to the moon first and then to deep space with your loved ones, with folks' DNA, with folks' mind files, where they provide poetry or music or photos. All of those are are going outward, and as you can tell, I'm a little bit speechless that we're getting this close to it. So, for those of you that, if you have questions, just load them up here and we'll go through them. But also, you'll be receiving lots and lots of information from us. We'll tell you where the headquarters hotel is, all those kind of things. Those don't get finally established until we have a launch date, or also known as ILC, initial launch capability. And then we will be ready to bring everybody down to Florida for, it really will be a history-making event, not just because of where we're going, but also who's going with us. Not only your loved ones and people's loved ones from all over the world, but we have an Apollo astronaut. We have most of the original crew of the Star Trek Enterprise, meaning Gene Roddenberry, Majel Barrett Roddenberry, Nichelle Nichols, Jimmy Doohan, and DeForest Kelley are all flying on the first Vulcan to deep space. I'm so happy to be involved in that effort. Can't think of anything more appropriate. So that's the update on Enterprise and Tranquility. Let's move to the next launch in the schedule, which will be the Aurora flight. And that is a reboot, a reattempt from our November Aurora flight, where the payload was not able to be made ready for the launch. There were a lot high winds in the area, and there was a COVID epidemic going on. So for all those good and proper reasons, the launch crew stood down on the first attempt, and coming back on April 17th for the next Aurora attempt. Again, that will be out of Spaceport America, near Las Cruces, New Mexico. We'll do the same thing as we did before, which is host folks and in Las Cruces, provide transportation to Spaceport America for a tour of the spaceport, and you can see the vehicle on the pad the day before, and then a launch, hopefully, on the 17th to fulfill that commitment. It's a great example of still the specialness that these missions have, and it's a keep working at it till you get it done. Show perseverance, and that's what the Up Aerospace launch crew has done. They're ready to fly again in what will be a very short time, and we'll be there hosting everybody. Again, that mission is scheduled for April 17. All right, so that's 3 of the 4 missions that I'm going to update tonight. There are questions about Destiny and Harmony, and we'll get to those probably in next month's update. Those aren't really going till the end of the year or early next year, so we're still finalizing details on it. But I do want to talk about Excelsior, which is a flight to Earth orbit. It is flying on a Spaceflight Industries space tug, if you will, that has several other customers attached to it, and is currently scheduled for no earlier than mid-April, and that will fly out of Vandenberg Space Force Base in California. Now, that's a change from the original schedule, which flew it out of Cape Canaveral, Florida. For anybody that's on Excelsior, we've reached out to you already and are working with you about those dates. But it's a great example of the need to have a robust manifest. We have so many launches and we're able to move around. So for folks that let us know that it just really, some people love the change to California, which is a wonderful place to visit. Central California coast. If you saw the movie Sideways, you know everything that's there. We've done several missions out of Vandenberg, and it's a great experience. It's a little bit more serene than launches out of the Cape, in my experience. But we have reached out already to folks that said, no, I cannot possibly fly from California, and we're working with them to book them on our next Earth orbital launch. So Excelsior, Vandenberg Air Force Base in April. We'll have an event page up about it. I'm hoping in mid-February, which gives everyone plenty of time to make their plans to be part of, again, a multi-day event from the California Central Coast. And again, if you're able to attend that launch, Vandenberg is steeped in the history of the American space program. There are only two orbital launch sites. Well, I'm sorry, three. Wallops Island, Virginia. But the two major orbital launch sites in America are Florida and California. And as I've said, it never bothers me to travel to either one. So, okay, so let's see if there are any questions that we need to. Do the events occur prior to the launch? Yes. The last day of the services that we provide is the launch day. So memorial services, tours, all those kinds of things occur before the launch. Question about when the Enterprise flight is. No later than the end of March is the current estimate from ULA, who provides the launch. And going back to what I said earlier, look for an event page about Enterprise to be born here very soon. Let's see.
Charlie, we have a lot here. I'm trying to go back to the earliest questions.
Okay, sure, please help me out here.
Just a little bit out of politeness here, but we have a lot here.
We got
So bear in mind, folks that are watching, of course, and have posted. We, of course, will answer all of your questions, even if we can't find them. We will, but just bear in mind that we're not leaving anyone out in their questions. A lot of Excelsior questions I'm hearing, I'm reading, okay. Charlie.
I see one. Let me take one before you do
ahead.
That, which is a good one about how much lead time between the launch date and the announcement of the date. And I'm assuming that's Enterprise. I have that question into ULA. They haven't responded to that question yet. But again, I would expect we'll have at least 3 weeks notice before, And again, that launch date is called the ILC for a reason, the initial launch capability. They'll still move some. It's a brand new rocket. So when you're planning on attending, please give yourself 2 or 3 days of flexibility. We won't host the event until we're sure there's going to be an attempt, but give yourself 2 to 3 days of flexibility. Don't buy non-renewable tickets, and understand that we, as the smallest payload on the biggest rocket, don't set the launch date, can't affect the launch date, can't change the launch date. We fly when we're told, and we actually have to be ready well in advance. So I'm hoping we get 3 weeks notice, and I do have that question into ULA, and as soon as we get an answer, we will know. But again, it's getting down to it's time for it in particular. Now go ahead, Marc, and
Yeah, we're everywhere, but this is an interesting one because I'd like to know the answer to this one as well. I don't know if you know it for sure. When will the moon mission be? So for Tranquility and Enterprise flight, of course, the Tranquility one is the one that handles the moon mission, and we continue on to the Enterprise flight. Correct, Charlie?
Yeah, that's right. We're a payload on the Astrobotic Peregrine commercial lunar lander, which is the primary reason, other than proving the rocket works, the primary payload on the Vulcan. And so that mission is going at exactly the same time that our Enterprise mission is. It will be dropped off. The Peregrine lander will be dropped off to the moon, where it powers its way down to the moon, and then we fire the Centaur engine and go to deep space. Is how that will work.
Charlie, let me ask you this, basically as a novice, because I find this intriguing that we have two missions on one rocket. So, excuse my ignorance and my little pantomime things here, but I should go this way. As we're going up, are we going to slow down, or are we going to keep going, drop off, and keep going out, or are we parking,
There's a
dropping off?
No, there's no parking, but they may adjust the velocity to give Astrobotic the best opportunity to land. But that will be done from pretty far away, relatively, to the moon, and we will then be fired off into deep space.
Okay. Enterprise, right. I noticed there are a lot of people that are new to our broadcast, and remember that we yeah, we do hold these broadcasts monthly closer to the launches. So we're seeing questions that we've asked in the past. Doesn't mean you can't ask them now, but of course, a lot of people.
Let me interrupt you and say, as we get closer to the launches, we'll do special update briefings via this channel also.
They'll be closer and not just monthly. They'll be as needed. But a lot of people are asking about how soon do we book accommodations. We are hoping for a 3-week notice from ULA for the Enterprise Tranquility launch date. The usual questions that we normally get, and I'll allow you to go ahead and probably pick that one up, Charlie.
Which one?
Basically, well, wait a minute. Yeah, it's moving fast on me here. Oh, here's one. We do not have a limit to the number of attendees as long as every person is registered in advance.
Let me caveat that.
Perfect.
It's always been the case.
Okay.
We may have so many interested attendees for some of our events, not the launch, but some of our events. The venues in Cape Canaveral only hold so many people. So but it's a lot. We've had 650 guests before. So I just want to say that the families will always get the first opportunity to book our events, families and friends. We've never sold anything out, but I want to be fair and say that it's possible that one or more of the more popular things that we do might just exceed the capacity that is there. I'm not saying that that's the case yet, but I wanted to just, and that's only for Enterprise and Tranquility, and that's because we're flying two at once. All the other events, the statement is correct. We don't limit how many attendees there are, but they do have to register.
Okay. Let's see. Since I personally have never been to Vandenberg, someone is asking, here, let me put it here. Do kids need any special identification for the Air Force Base in California?
Yeah, we don't actually go on the Air Force Base. We have a couple of excellent viewing locations that we take people to. Ever since September 11th, 2001, the ability for civilians to access the Air Force Base, and that's true down in Florida too. We do not view the launches from inside of the Air Force Base, Space Force Base in Florida either. That's just, they don't, particularly because we always have guests from overseas, and that's not allowed. And so the current plan is that we will not be penetrating the base, so that there won't be any required identification beyond just what you normally have.
Okay. Well, someone has asked a question about the past Aurora attempt and where to go. Charlie, maybe you ought to.
Okay. That is Harmony.
Harmony.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
And we've already been in touch with everybody that came. So
perfect.
We're on it.
Yeah, we're on it.
I see.
Wow,
Wait a minute.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
It's coming in fast and heavy, and I'm trying to scroll back as quickly as I can. If you see one, just grab it.
By the way, if you all have questions, if we don't answer all your questions at the end of the event tonight, we answer the phone, we respond to emails. We are always happy to talk to one of our families.
And while we're doing that, can you tell them a little bit about our video that we have coming up prior to the end of this briefing?
Yes, I can. So we advertised that we would have an interview with Liam Kennedy, who is the founder of ISS Above and has created a tracking device called Celestis Above. I've always found Liam an interesting fellow. So our space hipster influencer, Emily Carney, has done an interview with him that will play at the end of this session. It's about a 29-minute interview, but you learn all about the Celestis Above tracking device, which many of you will want for the Earth orbital missions that we're doing. And also just in general, I think Liam gives a good perspective on matters the same. I'd like to get through all the questions, run the video after that, and if it runs a little bit over our allocated hour, people can watch it as they wish.
Okay. A lot of these, our team seems to be answering as well, so hopefully the questioners are picking that up as they go by. And of course, this happens. Go ahead, Charlie.
I see a question that says, I didn't receive the announcement about the launch prior to the end of March. It's because we broke it here tonight. It will be going out. It'll be going out this week.
Yes, you'll be able to view this broadcast on our YouTube channel again after we're over with. A lot of information we did. I'm noticing a lot of people are probably coming in late. That's why they're asking questions that's already been answered. So you can definitely pick up those answers again after this broadcast on our YouTube channel.
I want to address to see a lot of people. When will we get the exact date? Basically, when we're told the exact date by the launch provider, our process is first we post it on the website, and then we send a personal email to the primary contact of everyone who is on that flight. So you will know it as soon as we know it, is what I can say to you. It's almost always the case that there's 3 to 4 weeks to make arrangements. We will help you make arrangements. We have Jack and Jeanette Kennedy travel agents who specialize in travel to launches and
Yes,
space events
great people.
on staff. We have hotels that we recommend and that we put room blocks on, and we'll inundate you with a variety of details. But understand that rocket launches go when they're ready, and they can be ready all the way up to 2 minutes before flight, and a boat comes into the safety zone. So the dates that you have to get comfortable with are, when we say, we will tell you, we have now made our reservations. We are planning, we will be there on these dates. And that is probably your best indicator based on our nearly 30 years of doing this. That's the best indicator about when the launch is going to be. And watch the website, look for your email, call us if you don't have it. But again, so we have one for Aurora, April 17th. That is the only exact date that we have. We do not have an exact date, although we will get a date from ULA for Tranquility and Enterprise. We don't have it, nor do we have a final exact date from Spaceflight about when Falcon 9 will launch from Vandenberg. But we managed to get that communicated, and it's just the need to be flexible and hang with us. I will say it's always worth it if you're able to find a way to get to the launch. It's a very compelling experience, and I can say that A, I've had my friends and loved ones fly, and B, I've done all 18 of our launches to date, and I know that it's compelling to be there. If you can't be there, we make a strong effort to do live streams of everything, the memorial service, the launch. We also bring a videographer crew in there, and we film the whole thing and create a video that you can see on our YouTube channel. You can see the videos that we make available to people. Okay. Let's see if
Alrighty. For once again, if you have not had your your question answered as of yet, our team has been. Oh, you got a question? Go for it.
Yeah, I want to confirm Enterprise is going to incur in Florida from Jennifer Levin. Yes, confirmed.
Confirmed. I did see that as well. And once again, you can view this broadcast again. It'll be uploaded as soon as possible after it ends. I'm sure there are still a lot of questions. We do have more mission updates via this broadcast coming up, and as close as we can possibly get to the launch, but you will still have a bevy of information sent to you prior to that. Anything that has not been answered, I saw that. Yeah. Yeah, Mary, we'll talk about that, okay? That's a friend of mine.
Will we be able to attend events and launch virtually at Vandenberg? Yes.
Yes. All right. There's your answer for that. Okay. Other than that, is it anything we need to cover, Charlie, before we go right to our interview?
Yeah, probably. Let me keep going.
I said the same thing to myself, Yeah, probably. Yeah, it's really nice to see. We have a large audience watching right now, and it's probably close to 100 of you right now that are watching us, so we appreciate that.
So there are a couple of people that have asked if we have their email addresses. The best thing to do is send it to us or call us, or I can't go into the database and look those up, but I'm pretty sure we do. But if you want to be triple sure, just reach out to launchteam@celestis.com or call us. We'll make sure that you're on the list. We appreciate everybody's perseverance in question asking. We don't avoid any questions. So if we miss them, a lot of questions again about, is this going to be mid-April or early April? Don't know.
Charlie, is this going to be mid-April or early March?
Don't know. We, as I said, we're never asked about launch schedules. We're never offered the opportunity to change the launch schedule. We're not even really asked for our comments on the launch schedule. But we've done a great job over 18 missions of getting everybody to launches on time when they needed to be. And that's one of the things you get with us is we're hard chargers and we're devoted to you guys because you're the reason that we're here. So I'll stop. Again, if you didn't get your question, I love that we had so many questions. Obviously,
it's incredible. I agree.
It's getting close. Everybody's going, I want to do this. Tell me. We know that's what you need, and we're here to provide that when we but we don't want to give you answers that aren't confirmed by the people that are actually doing the launch. You'll read a lot about launch dates if you read the Space Geek Press or anything. Our policy is always, when we're told by the people we're paying money to fly what the date is, that's when we transmit a date to y'all. And with that, Marc, I'll stop. Again, thanks everybody for being here tonight. Can't wait to meet a bunch of you. It's an exciting time. I know it's a fulfilling time for you guys to think about, oh, this is really going to happen. I see the rocket arriving at Cape Canaveral. And all I can say is we told you it would, but at the same time, it's this is a big deal. It's a big deal in the history of the space program, not just the big deal in the history of Celestis for new rockets to fly. All right, Marc, let's queue up with Liam and Emily and wish everybody a wonderful rest of January. We will do this again next month. And if needed, we'll do it sooner than next month. Thank you so much, folks.
Thank you, guys. Let me get my fingers together here, and I'll go ahead and queue up our interview as of yet. So enjoy this. Thank you, folks, so much for listening in. Look out for our next announcement for our next broadcast as my fingers are rolling here to pull up our video. So please enjoy this.
Yep. There you go.
All right. You figured it out. Okay. I'd love to welcome Liam Kennedy to our live cast tonight. This is pre-recorded, so I just want to let you all know about that. So Liam Kennedy has created ISS Above, and he's also created Celestis Above for us. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that during this interview, but let's just get started. So let's start at the very beginning. Origin. So what got you interested in spaceflight in general?
Yeah, well, I think it goes back to my very early days when I was a 6-year-old and forced my parents in England to stay up all night so we could watch the Apollo 11 moon landing and the very first moonwalk. So, and ever since then, I've just been someone who's been, crazy mad about everything to do with space and NASA. And then fast forward many decades later, when I managed to move myself over here, I now live in California, which has a lot clearer skies than England, not surprisingly. And somehow that ignited my interest in astronomy and I became president of Orange County Astronomers, not the Orange County in Florida, the one over here in California. And through that, that had me do public outreach. And it was just the time when the space station was being built. And one of the most popular things to have happen during those public outreaches was when the space station was passing by on a visible pass, and we could have students and teachers and parents, families look up and see the space station as it was passing by. So that's my interest in space. You know, I eventually became a planetarium lecturer at the Griffith Observatory. You don't do that to make money. You do that because you're passionate about it, in my case. And then in 2013, I decided that it was time to build a really cool gadget for my grandchildren. I now have 7 of them. And the idea was to have them know that their grandpa was the coolest grandpa. And the way I did that was I created my very first ISS above. This is a little Raspberry Pi computer, and it lights up every time the space station was passing by. And at that time, our youngest grandson, Owen, 3, actually learned how to tell how soon it would be that those astronauts that are in space were above him. So before he could read and before he could count, we actually had him counting the number of flashes. You know, if it flashes blue, it means the space station is less than 10 minutes away. So he learned how to count the flashes and say, Grandpa, the astronauts are 5 minutes away, Grandpa. And when I create that, sort of like, how does that relate to what I do now? Well, little did I know when I created this little device in 2013 that fast forward to now, and I'm an education partner with the ISS National Lab. They actually run the science lab on the space station. I've now got over 4,000 of these devices around the world. And they're having people, this was the key bit. I did it primarily to have people feel closer to the human beings that were in space as they were passing them by. That was that. If you'd have read what I wrote, I sort of put a little note to myself. Why am I doing this? And it's because of that. I think the world is a better place when we feel closer to one another. And a very special part of that are astronauts in space. And, you know, then we go into the origin story of why I created Celestis Above and what that's about. Anyway, I know I rambled on for several minutes there, but
no, you're fine.
That sort of gives you a little bit. Behind me here, you're seeing pre-recorded shots from the space station. This is actually, that over there is Montreal in the wintertime. And these, my little device that plugs into a TV displays the live video feed and a whole load of other information as well. Shows you the orbit, tells you who's up there, has a little graphic of them, and has news and other things, and then flashes every time the space station is above. And then, you know, we can get into what the Celestis Above version does as well. Anyhow, what other questions do you have?
Yeah, well, we just talked obviously about ISS Above. And according to your website, this has now been dispatched probably to a greater number than this now, but it's been dispatched to over 3,500 schools and institutions. I'm sure that number is much bigger now. Did you ever expect this tool to become this popular? I mean, that's a big number that it's been dispatched to. That's pretty big. Did you expect this tool to become this popular and this successful?
I really didn't, because honestly, my first reason for building this was more of a sort of a private thing. And it's only when, that Facebook thing, when, you can find yourself just posting photos of something that you're doing.
Yeah.
That's what I did. And then I had friends saying, hey, Liam, that's really cool. How do I get one? And then I did a Kickstarter, which is a form of crowdfunding. So I just, there was also, when I first built this, I was taking my little dog, Chester, daily for his walks. And it was right beside this coffee shop. And I'd sometimes go in the coffee shop with my Chester dog, building this thing. And then the owner said, hey, this is cool. We're right near Caltech. So, and I know that other customers would love to see that thing. Can we have one on the wall? So I put one on the wall, and then people from Caltech would come in and say, wow, I have an experiment on the space station. This is cool. Every time I'm having coffee, I can see when my experiment is above me as I'm, eating pie and coffee. And then through all of those little things, I got some people might want to get this. So I did this Kickstarter. It was actually in January, February of 2014. When you do a Kickstarter, the way I did it was just, I'm going to see if people want this. Well, within 3 days, I met my funding goal. And I shipped over 500 ISS aboves directly because of that. And one of the people who bought it was this guy called Bill Nye the Science Guy.
Wow.
Yeah, randomly.
Just a guy called Bill.
Just this guy called Bill Nye the Science Guy. And he mentioned it on the Wall Street Journal. He was being interviewed, like 15 questions to Bill Nye. Wow. And one of the questions was, what's your favorite tech gadget? This wasn't it. The next question was, what is your most recent obsession? And he said, my most recent obsession is this gizmo called ISS Above that you connect to your TV and it shows live views of the Earth from space. I sort of got that. I remember this, down pat because it was such an amazing thing, such a Bill Nye thing to say. He said, I watch it more than is reasonable. I watch it all the time. It's just a beautiful thing. And then as a result of that, I had in that next month, thank you, Bill, I had like 500 additional orders. It was ridiculous. I was just this dude who created this for his grandchildren. And then suddenly I find myself, oops, I've got to ship this out to 1,000 people. And believe it or not, we did it. And then I got invited by NASA at some point to come visit them at Johnson Space Center because they were, NASA doesn't ever endorse anything.
Exactly. Yeah, they don't endorse stuff, but there's, go on.
But yeah, it was sort of like they were, especially the folks who were responsible for this camera system. The one I'm using right now is different from the one that was in 2014. That had a variety of different views. This new one just shows these views right beneath the space station, which I think is awesome. Oh, this is going to be near where I am. This is Northern California. This is the Bay Area. So that's San Francisco above my head. San Jose, Monterey is over here. That's the Monterey Bay Aquarium.
Wow.
And then I'm in Southern California near Los Angeles. But yeah, it sort of just sort of blossomed quite a bit. And then, on the space station, there's the science lab where a lot of the US science and other countries' science is done. And I got invited to join the education partners because I discovered a lot of these were being purchased by schools. So created a whole bunch of learning materials and things with the support of the ISS National Lab. And then, things have sort of grown from there. So, but at its heart, it's always been about having students, obviously my grandbabies, really understand that these people in space who've been up in space, there hasn't been one day in the past 22 years where we haven't had astronauts above us in space. Many people don't realize they're not just some random place in space, but they're passing you by. So whoever's listening to this right now, those astronauts are passing you by 5 to 8 times every day. You may not be able to see them because they're during the daytime, you can't see the space station, but they could be low on the horizon or going right over the top of your head. Like this one here is right over the top of my head. If I show you this one, that's LA down to San Diego. So I'm actually in that particular view there. And it's really quite an extraordinary thing to see where you live from space. Anyhow.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So now let's discuss Celestis above and one very quick question. If you have Celestis above, can you also use ISS above? It's the same
yes
kind of device, right?
Yeah, great question. Yeah.
Okay.
So some years ago, Charlie and they contacted me saying, hey, can we is there a way that we can track the Celestis flights? And I was very intrigued by this. So yeah, I built it so that you can either track the space station and see these views, or you can track your Celestis flight. So, and all of the currently available Celestis flights, they're all trackable. And just I'm not sure is this going to be a video podcast thing or is it going to be audio only?
Video. So
video. Okay, cool. So yeah, so there sometimes I've done podcasts and me talking about what you can see didn't help because it was an audio only podcast. So I have to describe things. So I'll switch to my little view of a Celestis above. So this one is actually set to track the Heritage Flight. Let me switch this back. Oh, in fact, randomly, yeah, the next pass of this Celestis flight, this Heritage Flight, is actually coming by me in 2 hours and 29 minutes. So this is showing the orbit screen that shows you where the satellite is. This one is has quite a shallow orbit angle to the equator. So it doesn't reach as high north or south as the space station. But this one looks like it's heading towards Australia right now in darkness.
Yeah, it's nighttime.
Yeah, and these are the different screens it comes up with. It has a great infographic here showing the launch, the rocket launch that contained the Heritage Flight. And then it has all of this information as well. So tells you when the next pass is going to be, how high up in the sky. This next pass is, if I just switch back here, it's really just grazing above the horizon. This particular one, it's only going to be 0.1 degrees above the horizon, but it's still above the horizon. And there can be oftentimes, if I show you this particular view here, this is a pass calendar. Remember I said it can be above your horizon 5 to 8 times a day. Mm-hmm. This calendar shows that visually for the next couple of weeks. This particular Celestis above is configured by default to where I am. So it says unconfigured because this one's ready to go out the door to a customer. But this here, you see all of those dots and circles. Mm-hmm. Every one of those dots and circles represents a time when this flight is going to be above the horizon. And I believe this one, if I switch it back to the orbit screen, this one is configured. You see that there's a red circle over by California?
Yes.
That's the red circle means that's where this thing is configured to be. So, and you can see this particular spacecraft. It really just reaches the upper north part of it is really south of my location. So that means it'll never be right over the top of my head. But nevertheless, when this is passing by, it actually will tell you where in the sky it is. It has an angle of where it is. It has how high up it is. So you could literally, point to where the Celestis spacecraft is as it's passing you by. And this is just one example. There's a whole bunch of other, obviously, Celestis flights, including the latest one, the Ascension flight.
Yep.
So this particular flight, it's relatively shallow in terms of the angle to the equator, but like the Ascension flight, it's more of a polar orbiting.
North to south, yeah.
Yeah, so it goes north to south, which means it can often be right over your head, wherever you are, wherever you live on the Earth. And and this is part of what I love about this is, when this is going by, I'll show you what happens when the space station is above you. I'm just going to pretend it's above you. If you see this, can you see that?
Yep, I see the light.
Yeah, that bright LED does that for the entire time, and your loved one on your Celestis flight is above you, is above the horizon. So it doesn't matter if they're just grazing above the horizon or if they're going right over the top of your head. This thing will do this. So it's very easy, even if you don't have the TV switched on. If you have this visible somewhere, you can very easily know every time the person you love is above you. So, to me, that was one of the things that really had me be interested in doing this, because, at the very source of this, the very sort of the context for doing this is to have people feel closer to people they love. And that works for, whether they're on a spacecraft alive or whether they're on a spacecraft and you're honoring their life by having them be there. So, and I had an opportunity to speak to a number of Celestis customers who have an ISS above, and I know that they've been very appreciative of having this kind of way to really keep that context alive. So there we go. Anyway,
awesome. And I have one more question before we close. Just one more very easy question. How easy is it to set up? I actually have a Celestis above device at my house.
oh
I
yeah,
have not set it up yet. I'm going to set it up to demo it over the weekend or by Monday. How easy is it to set up this device in your house?
Yeah, so I had to, create this device so that it was as easy as possible. So, when you buy it, when it arrives, it comes in this little box. It has the actual unit that I held up before, a little square box, and a power supply. And inside the box is the instruction guide. There's also a little sheet that has, and we got to make sure that you have something like this. So this is a custom little sheet with some additional information about the Celestis above version. And there's even a QR code over here that if you scan with your phone will take you through to a special page that describes it in more detail. But generally, when I ship these, they're pre-configured to the Celestis flight that you're interested in, the way that Celestis lets me know in the order tracking system which one is the one that is needing to be tracked. So I pre-configure that, although it's very easy to change it. And all you do is you just, it really is three, to configure it, there's really just four things or three things really. You plug in, so you'll need an HDMI cable to plug it into your TV. You will initially need an Ethernet cable to connect it into your home router, your network router. And then you just switch it on. You plug in the power supply into the unit. It'll display on the TV, and you'll see actually behind me, it has this thing going on saying location unconfigured. That's because this being a new device, this will not necessarily be configured precisely to where you are based. And that message that comes up, it has an address for a web site that you need to go to. So, and in the instructions, it just tells you to type that URL into your browser, and then it takes you through how to configure your device. And really all you're doing is just setting your location. And once you've done that, it's all set. You're all set. It will be displaying this information for as long as you want it to. And that's basically it. So it's really just a few simple steps, and you'll be up and running.
Excellent. All right.
And also on this sheet there, my contact information. So I'm very responsive to any questions that anyone has. So you don't go to support. You don't call Celestis. You'll basically contact me directly. So, and just know I don't have a team of people doing this. It is me, and I'd be delighted to help you through any questions that you may have. But typically, you get them out of the box and they're up and running. Now, Emily, I don't know whether you'll be taking this to various events and things.
Mm-hmm.
So you might want to configure the Wi-Fi on your device, which you do in that first setup, so that it can connect to your phone hotspot.
Okay.
And that means when you go to an event, you don't have to worry about connecting it up to a wired Ethernet port. You can just switch on your phone hotspot, and then the device, when you switch it on, it'll connect to that. It needs to be able to connect to the internet, actually mostly so it keeps accurate time, and also uploads, downloads the most recent orbital information for the Celestis flights. So that's all that's needed, and hopefully you'll find it really easy to install.
Excellent. All right. Yep. I plan on doing a short demo video this weekend to hopefully get it a little easier for people to figure out how to hook it up. So, all right. So that's great. That's really all I've got. Well, do you have anything you'd like to add, or?
Yeah, I was wondering, maybe what I'll do, let me just bring this up. I'm going to bring up the web admin system. So yeah, if I just maybe share my screen over here, and you can choose to use this or not, whatever you'd like. But so you remember on my screen, it's coming up with this thing saying location unconfigured, go to, and then it's actually listing this website. So this is the configuration website. And you'll see it's coming up with, oh, yeah, this is configured for actually near Beverly Hills. But say where you're, Emily, are you in Miami?
St. Petersburg, Florida.
Oh, St. Petersburg. Okay. So, and in here, you just put, and I don't even know, no, St. Petersburg, probably with an H on the end.
Nope.
Nope.
Got
There
it
you
right.
go. Florida. Okay. So, and I just click search.
There
And that's
I
where you
am.
are. There you go. Yeah,
Yep.
right on Tampa Bay. So I just select that one. So I'm just literally going to change this now to be St. Petersburg, because I can easily change it back after this. And then just click update. And now this will be configured for tracking
Oh, wow.
over St. Petersburg. So just click that button, and over here, it's now showing all of the passes over St. Petersburg. And if I switch my sharing off just for a second, will show when I take myself out of the picture here. I'll put. Do you remember for me over in LA, the next pass was in 2 hours. But for you,
I got 33 minutes.
you've got 33 minutes, yeah.
Yep.
And that's just the nature of the passes. And you'll see the pass is also a slightly different view. It's passing a little bit higher in the sky towards the south. You can see now the red dot is
all right
now in Petersburg. And if I show the pass calendar, it's just because see this one, because you are lower down in the latitude than me, you're closer to the equator.
Yeah, I'm close to the equator.
So that means the passes for this particular flight are actually higher up in your sky. Can you see that all of those circles are bigger circles? The bigger circles means it's closer to you.
Excellent. Okay.
So that's how easy it is to change your location. While I'm here, I'm just going to share my screen one more time, and I'm going to show you where you can select a different flight and even switch it to track the space station if you'd want to. So what I've got over here, this is the home page. And over here, you'll see it's got home, location, Celestis blog. That will take you to the Celestis blog page. And over on the right, you actually see recent tweets from Celestis. And I think this top right thing here is about the event, I think, that's happening on Monday.
Yep, that's
awesome. There it is. So if you use this, you can actually track what's going on with Celestis. But so let me just click on this button here that says track any Celestis flight. This is the page that has all of the Celestis flights that are trackable right now. And so there's quite a few of them. And in order to switch to, so currently we're on Heritage Flight. But if you wanted to track a different one, you just select whichever one is appropriate here. And then right down here is where you can set it to track the space station instead. So that's very easy to do. It's easy to switch between flights or even track the space station if you want to see what that's like too. And that's that.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you so much. This was awesome. This is a really amazing tool. I'm a little biased because I've been following your work for years, and I really admire what you're doing. I think this is really awesome. So thank you so much. Thank you.
You're very, very welcome. I'm very honored to that Celestis reached out to me to see if I could create something like this. So, and I just want to let you know, I just think this is a precious endeavor that Celestis is involved with, and it's so nice to be a part of this with all of you. And thank you so much, Emily, for reaching out to do this.
Thank you. Thank you.
In 2022, people from planet Earth will launch a spaceship bound to create a distant outpost of human civilization. A new island in deep space beyond Mars. Aboard the Enterprise flight will be biofiles, a complete genomic representation, DNA of crew members from around. In 2022, people from planet Earth will launch a spaceship bound to create a distant outpost of human civilization. A new island in deep space beyond Mars. Aboard the Enterprise flight will be biofiles, a complete genomic representation, DNA of crew members from around the world. Mind files, greetings and vital data from Earth's peoples. And memorial journeys, the precious remains of Star Trek's first family and others from all walks of life. Join the crew of the Enterprise flight yourself.
This is the launch conductor in mission control. We pause at this moment in our countdown to remember and honor the lives of each of the participants on the Celestis Memorial Spaceflight. Their presence on this flight signifies a commitment to the opening of the space frontier shared by all of us. We wish the friends and families present today and all those who are with us in spirit all over the world Godspeed, good luck, and our thanks for allowing us to share this very personal time with you today. Elsie out. 5 vehicles armed, 3, 2, 1, fire.